Hey there, sweet friends. Welcome to the Peacock Homestead. And if you're new here, my name is Elizabeth. And this week would be the last week of the Three Rivers Challenge. So I just want to talk about how we did these past few months and what our next steps are. I also have a bit of a thrift haul for you guys. I'll be packaging up some cheese and cooking from scratch. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, let's get into the video. Since the last video, we've had a bit of a spout of crazy weather. So we've had an ice storm. We've also had a snowstorm. So my little goaty girls are going through a lot. They seem to be pretty comfy and cozy in their little house the hubs built. And they are just chewing their cud, hanging out, but they cannot wait for spring. Neither can I. I cannot wait for the warmer weather and just being outside and gardening and tending to my garden and just hanging out with my animals, enjoying the sunny weather. And I cannot wait for planting, and that will be very soon to come. Now, on this day, I decided to make something special. I've never made it before. I have made tons of cinnamon rolls in the past, but I actually plan on making some pizza rolls with this recipe. And I do love this book. I get a lot of inspiration from this book. It is the Food in Jars kitchen book, and I actually got it secondhand on Amazon. So I'm starting off with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I like the King Arthur brand, and you can also incorporate this with your freshly milled flour as well. I would just let the grains soak with the liquid for at least 30 minutes. And then I'm adding 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I'll be using my instant yeast, so I'm going to let that soak for a couple minutes. But until then, I'm just going to add a teaspoon of my salt. I'm using canning salt. It's just my favorite go-to salt because there's no packing agents or additives. And for the yeast, you'll need 2 1/4 teaspoons of that. I'm just adding the yeast to warm water, about a 1/2 cup, and that will speed up the activation process. And then you'll need a 1/2 cup of milk and 1 large egg yolk. I'm going to get all my ingredients together and mixed up in this bowl. I like to get in there with my hands and make sure it's all incorporated really well. And we'll get these rolled out, stuffed with the pizza ingredients, and on their second rise. So the sister results for this recipe is my raw milk mozzarella cheese. I'm going to bake these at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 40 minutes, or until the internal temperature is 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So I got this idea from Jessica over at the Three Rivers Homestead. I figured I'd give it a try, and it was definitely worth it. Pizza was getting kind of boring, and I'm definitely in for trying something new. So this dough has 2 rises. Once you get the first rise going and you roll it out and put all the ingredients in, and you're going to let it rise again a second time for about 15 minutes to a half an hour, or you can pop it in the fridge and bake it the next day. So that's what makes this kind of a convenient meal. With cinnamon rolls, you can pop it in the freezer and bake later, and also with these pizza rolls. So for the filling, I have some garlic scapes and green peppers and onions. I had browned some sausage from the freezer, and I'm adding that all up. I actually found those garlic scapes. That's the last of my garlic scapes. I cannot wait for my garlic this spring. And then I'm just adding a little bit of salt and pepper, and that is going to be our filling for this pizza rolls. And I also had made some mozzarella in a couple videos ago, and that's going to be the sister results for my pizza rolls, and that makes them so delicious, is the homemade mozzarella. So I'm just shredding that up really quick, and I have this box shredder that I had gotten a while ago off of eBay. It actually works really well. I like it so much better than the handheld one. That's actually 1 pound of mozzarella there, or a little over a pound. I'm probably gonna not use that much. I'll keep a little bit for something else for later. But I have my pan greased with some butter there, and I'm gonna use a half a quart of this tomato sauce that I got from my garden tomatoes in the back. My dough is risen nicely, so now we are going to assemble these pizza rolls. I got my oven preheated at 350 degrees, and we're gonna bake these for about 40 to 50 minutes. And you're gonna wanna make sure the internal temperature is about 200 degrees. That's when you know that everything is fully cooked inside. I just want to talk a little bit about the pantry challenge and how we did. So this year's challenge was actually pretty good. I prepared myself, and this is the best year we've ever did on our garden. We came up with a game plan, and we definitely excelled in what we thought we were going to do. So every year it was the same thing. We tried to go in the same soil, but this year we changed things. We ordered dirt from Agway, and we used that, and we also added fertilizer to it, and we had brand new garden beds. We planted 14 new garden beds, and we really did well on our garden this year, and the hubs really worked very hard in helping me with my dream, and we did an excellent job. I'm really proud of the hubs and I for all of our hard work, and we've actually spent a lot of money on the dirt and the seeds and planting, but this year is going to pay off even more because we already have the garden beds in, and I've actually have a lot of my seeds. I don't need to purchase a lot of seeds, and I did a lot of seed saving as well, so that saves so much money. The hubs and I were just discussing what we should plant more of next year and hold back on. So we plan on having a good game plan, and then we're going to hopefully be starting seeds this week or next week. We plan to purchase a few more garden beds, probably 2 or 3 more, just because I ordered some fun seeds and they need space, and they are perennial. So I'm excited to show you guys in the next couple videos what my garden plan is and what seeds I'll be starting. So I'll be really excited to show you guys that. I would say overall the pantry challenge was definitely a success for us. We've saved money by not going to the grocery store. We've used up a whole bunch of our pantry goodies as well as our freezer goodies, and we did a pretty good job making meals from scratch and making room for next year's harvest. One of my other favorite passions is thrifting. So this week I brought back this whole winter's worth of bottle saving, and I actually got $140. So I went to the thrift shop, of course, and I love finding new treasures like that little butter dish. I think this is a fermenting crock. I thought it would be perfect for fermenting kimchi or even a little batch of sauerkraut. I found this beautiful Pyrex bowl. I love the color. That's one of my favorite colors. And that was only $8. And I found this little bean crock, so I thought that was cute. And the dust is free. It definitely needs some TLC, but I can't wait to wash it up, and it's gonna look so cute. I also found this bigger crock, so I thought that was cute. So I've just put all my wooden spoons in there. I found this beautiful oval basket with the God's Eye on the front and the back, and I thought that was so unique. It was only $6, so I had to bring that home with me. I definitely can't help myself with a unique basket. Then I found this really cute sugar jar. It goes really good with my farmhouse decor, and on the bottom it says Hearth in Hand with Magnolia. And I also found a few cups with the same brand, and they were super cute. I love this little cup. It looks like a little sweater, and that's perfect for when you want to have just a little bitty cup of tea or coffee. And it has the same Hearth and Hand with Magnolia name brand on the bottom. And I got these 2 little matching green cups, and then this beautiful gray cup as well. And that is my thrift haul. Since my ladies have been laying eggs like crazy, I needed to use up a lot of these eggs as I've been giving them away, and I've been trying to find different recipes to consume them because I don't want to waste them. I'd rather give them away than let them go to waste. So I have a few ingredients here. I have soy sauce, sesame seed oil, sesame seeds. I'm going to be adding garlic at the end. I also have a bit of sugar. So I'm going to pop the recipe up on the screen for you, and we're going to get going on making these Korean boiled eggs. So the main ingredient is soy sauce. You're going to want a cup of that and a cup of water. You can also add jalapeno peppers, but I opted not to, just to give it a little bit of spice. I'm adding about 3 teaspoons of sesame seeds. The recipe calls for less, but I wanted a little bit more. And then I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. So that is going to be the base of your sauce. And then I'm just going to add a few chives. I have about 4 chives. You can add more or less, but that is what's going to give it that really amazing bite. So I made 2 jars because I have a ton of eggs, but you can just fill the 1 jar. That's usually good for 1 mason jar. So I shook it up really well because I'm going to be splitting it into 2 jars. And then I'm going to be putting these on my ramen noodles. So as a topper, I'll probably make a little bitty egg salad with it. It's going to give it such a good flavor and something new and different. I also love making pickled eggs as well. I love my sweet and hot ones. Those are the best. So I'm going to be adding a couple cloves of garlic in each one. That's just the garlic that I preserved in olive oil. It's solidified, so it looks a little bit crazy, but I was going to chop it up, but I was feeling lazy. The flavor will definitely infuse in all of the eggs. So I'm just going to let that sit in the fridge for 8 hours and then enjoy. This week I also made another batch of mozzarella cheese, and you can never have too much mozzarella. So what I'll be doing with this is I'll be storing it in my freezer for future meals, because that is one of the things I always forget at the store is mozzarella. So I figure making it from scratch, I know who's making it. I know that this is fresh ingredients, and it makes every meal that I use it with super delicious. And I just wanted to show you guys the stretching, because that is actually the best part of making the mozzarella. So this is about 2 gallons of raw milk, and I'm just going to give it a stretch. I'm going to add salt. I usually add a tablespoon of salt to 1 gallon, so I'm going to add 2 tablespoons. And then I'm going to pop this in the fridge overnight, and I'm going to cut it and then store it in the freezer. So what's amazing about this is I actually got 3.5 pounds of cheese with 2 gallons of milk. Can you imagine that? That is so neat. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the way that I'm going to package this is I'm going to saran wrap it up, vacuum pack it up, and until then it's going in the fridge to set. This week I decided to make 2 baguettes and 1 loaf of sourdough bread. So these are sourdough baguettes. I just used the recipe from my blog, my sourdough recipe, and I rolled the baguettes out and I made 1 loaf of bread. I tried to get the grams as even as I could. So each of the baguettes are about 250 grams. And then I made a batch of sourdough bagels for the hubs because he had requested it. And that'll be a week's worth of goodies for us. So these are all baked up and we're going to enjoy one for breakfast and store the rest in the freezer. I baked these baguettes at around 450 degrees for 30 minutes. I could have let them rise a bit longer, and I would love to get one of those baguette pens. So that will be on my wish list for the future. Now this week I decided to take some peaches out and get them used from my freezer because I had a bunch left over still. We're still trying to think of ideas to use up peaches, but I am making a pie today. So I have about 4 cups of thawed peaches. These were from last year and I need to get them used up. So I've made a peach crisp, I've made a cobbler, and I made a peach pie. I love making peach salsa. That is amazing on a lot of different meats. I've used it on chicken and pork and whatnot. And my favorite thing to make with peaches is, of course, peach jam. You can use that in so many different desserts. It is my favorite jam ever. So I have a bit of pumpkin spice that was hiding way in the back of my spice cabinet. I'm adding about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of that. I'm going to add just about 2 little handfuls of sugar because I don't want it too sugary and too sweet. I want to be able to taste the peaches. And I'm just going to add that and a bit of molasses. I would say I added a teaspoon of that. And I'm going to add a nice handful of flour as well and a teaspoon of lime juice. And that's pretty much the main ingredients to any of my fruit pies. Just a little bit of sugar, molasses, and then flour, sometimes butter, and a little bit of lemon juice or lime juice. So I'm going to mix that all up and that will get nice and thick when it bakes in the oven. And I have a go-to recipe I just popped up on the screen there for my pie crusts. And I'm going to get that all rolled out. I made the recipe for a double crust, and that will be the base for the pie. And I do have my oven preheated at 375, and I'm going to bake this for about a good 60 minutes until the bottom is all nice and brown because you don't want raw in the middle. So I have a glass pan so I can cheat and look at the bottom to make sure it's all done. And that's why I love those Pyrex baking dishes because you can see on the bottom. So I'm going to carefully put the top on and I'm going to roll it the best I can and pinch it together. And then I'm going to add a little bit of egg wash and a bit of sugar and get it in the oven. And don't forget to add your little air holes on the top. So I just usually make 3 little slices at the top just so it has room to breathe and bubble because I've made that mistake before. I went to go check on my pie and it was all on the bottom of my oven. That cooked fruit that doesn't come off, that is a little nightmare. So I make sure to add little holes at the top of my pie for a vent. I'm really glad I used up a bunch of that fruit. It'll make more room in my freezer, and this will be our dessert for the week. It turned out so amazing. Now I'm just gonna chill it in the fridge for later, and I'm gonna make some homemade heavy whipping cream to go with it. On this night, I wanted to use up one of my jars of garden tomatoes, so we're making some chicken cacciatore, and it's a set and forget meal. I'm just going to add the chicken and the quart of sauce in the pan, and I'm going to pop it in the oven and forget about it. I had pre-cooked some bow tie noodles, so that's what it's going to be paired with, along with the baguettes that I had cooked earlier in the day. And that's what we're going to be having for dinner. So we're going to set it and forget it and get to the night chores, and then we'll come back to a really delicious meal. And finally, dinner is served. We're having the bow tie chicken cacciatore with our homemade sourdough baguettes. I need to tweak them a little better for next time. I have a couple of ideas. And actually, I just added a little bit of heavy whipping cream to this, and I made it a bit of a rosé sauce, which brought it to the next level. I decided to take the mozzarella out of the fridge and package it up. This is about 3.5 pounds, so I cut it into 4 different pieces, and that'll be perfect portions for when I want to make a pizza or a little casserole or something. So I'll pop these in the freezer and they'll be ready to go for future meals. So I got that bread baked, and I'm going to let it cool, and then that will be our bread for the week. We had those 2 baguettes. We ate one for dinner, so there's one in the freezer. And then it's finally time to enjoy our peach pie. It was so worth the wait. I had to let it chill, and then I made some whipped topping, and that turned out so delicious. So that will be our dessert for the week. We've had so much fun in this pantry challenge, and I can't wait for the Every Bit Counts challenge. We've actually saved a ton of money, and we are probably going to continue eating from our freezer and our pantry because that's what we do. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and many blessings, and I'll see you on the next one, friends.